All right, ladies and gentlemen, I always say I'm a learner and offer to include you to learn along with me. I have the Gen Profusion 26 kiln, and last night when I was doing a firing, I had an alert, an alarm going off, and my digital reader was saying FTH, which means failure to heat, and it was stalled out at about 1300 degrees on my way to 1375. So I almost got the fuse in that I wanted, but it kept stalling out at 1300. And when I opened the kiln and took a quick look, I realized that these 4 elements here were burning and these 4 were not. They are not lit up. And so I just turned it on. You probably can't tell as they're heating up, they're getting a little red. Those are red, those are not. So we're going to attempt to solve the issue. All right, so I will explain what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to have to wear my camera, which I know does not make for the best video, but I need to be hands-free as I'm working here. So along the kiln sides, there are these 2 panels that just attach with a couple of screws. So I'm going to take both panels off. I'm assuming there's going to be some visible damage in here, and here's why I know this. So as I showed you, let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. As I showed you, these 4 were firing and these 4 were not. I bought this kiln used, and back in 2020, I had the exact same problem, but in the opposite area. These 4 were still working, and these 4 were not. And at the time when we took the panel off, I could find the damage relatively easily, and it was a relatively simple fix. So fingers crossed that's the case tonight. So because it's acting the same, I'm thinking it's the same issue, it's just back here now. So in theory, if I'm right, when I take these panels off, it's gonna be really obvious what has happened, but I need to take both of them off. Even if I find it immediately on the first one, I'm still gonna take the other one off and just do a quick inspection anyway. Because I had this problem back in 2020, I have 1 extra jump wire. I'll show you what that looks like. So I may have the parts here to fix this the way it needs to be fixed. If not, I may have to order some pieces, but again, fingers crossed it's an easy fix, and fingers crossed I actually have what I need to get it done yet tonight. So I'm going to put the camera on and get started. Okay, so I just got this panel off, and all of this looks okay. These are all good connections, all solid. So what you see here is that these are all all the elements are connected together. So this comes in here, runs electricity through, it's going to connect on the other side, and then run back through to here. There's a little jump connection, goes through, connects over there, comes back through. So you see how that works. And so everything over here looks okay. So I'm assuming then that what's going to happen is when I take the panel off the other side, that one of these connections either came loose or maybe burnt out. So I'm going to go over to the other side and we'll take a look. Well, this isn't actually good news because everything looks okay over here too. So that means that there may be a different issue. Here was the original issue that I had a couple of years ago. You see so much heat escaped from here. Now we've since closed that back up with some fiber paper, but enough heat escaped that it melted this wire off, and that was my problem a couple of years ago. And so I was hoping that maybe it was just a disconnected wire. That is not the case here because all 4 of these look good. So now I got to figure out in a deeper way what's going on. So to be continued. So here's my controller, and here are the lights, indicator lights that indicate when the kiln is firing, when the elements are firing. I don't know if this is the back 4 and this is the front 4 or vice versa, but there are 2 sets, there are 2 relays in this box, and there are 2 indicator lights here. And so when I try to run a program just on a quick full fuse to activate it, both of them are coming on. And so that tells me that I think that it's not a relay. See, both relays came on and are allowing energy to flow, and as indicated by the lights, I think. So I don't think it's a relay issue. I should have mentioned that I unplugged the kiln before I started doing all of this work. I plugged it back in then to start this thing up again. And now I've unplugged it because I can't see anything obvious on the sides here. So I am gonna go ahead and take my controller box apart just to see, is there a wire that just got loose in there somehow or something worse? So I'm gonna go ahead and take, it's got some screws on here. I'm going to take the back off the controller box and see if there's anything obvious inside. Okay, I called the good people at GenKen, and they do think it's probably the relay. So I had said, you know, on the front though, the light is coming on when the kiln is clicking on, and she indicated that in the earlier models of the kiln, which is what I've got, the light can come on with very little energy required, and so it could very well be a case where this relay needs to be replaced. So this is an easy job-ish. The only problem is it gets kind of tight in here in the back, and I got big man hands, and it's kind of difficult to get everything out. Here's a tip though, and I learned this the hard way. Take a picture of this before you start tearing it apart. Take a picture, and you know, wide enough so you can see where all of these wires are going, to make sure you get them all connected back where they go. So I will do that. I'm not going to film this portion. I'm going to go, the recommendation was, even though it's just one relay, that's probably the issue. When you're in here, just go ahead and replace both, because they kind of tend to wear out around the same time. I happen to have 2 spare relays, so I am going to go ahead and replace both. Again, I'm not going to film it because that just probably won't be helpful for anybody. So I'm going to take a picture of this wiring, unplug everything, unscrew the relays, put new relays in, plug everything back in, and then we'll see how it goes. And there we go. It was the relay. All 8 tubes are firing. Woohoo! Okay, so while I have the kiln open anyway, even though I've got the relays working again, I don't care for how dark and corroded these connections have become. So I think it's just probably time to do a little bit of routine maintenance. So this was a jump wire that I replaced a couple of years ago, but in talking to the folks at GenKen, they think it needs to be a little longer so that there's a little bit more to it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually replace all of these jump wires and all of these connectors. And I just bought the supplies from GenKen directly, and I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Relatively simple to do, I think. These have a screw on them that opens that up, loosens that up, and then I'm going to go ahead and put them back together. Now, there are some tips here for how this needs to be wired that I got directly from GenKen. So I'm going to get this all disassembled here and get my wires cut and such, and then I'll come back and show you what they were recommending. Okay, so the first tip that I got from GenKen when I talked to them, spoke to Jen specifically at GenKen, was to make sure that your wire is tightly wrapped and nice and tight. This can, when you cut it and then go strip the wire, these can tend to kind of spread out. So make sure that they get nice and tight and tightly wound for attaching them to the kiln. And then I'll show you what she recommended in terms of the attachment itself. Okay, and then here at the kiln, these are the pieces of the elements. This runs all the way through. So this little, what she called a pigtail, is what's coming out of the kiln. And then she said that pigtail, Jen said, should be on the screw side of this brass clamp here. So that the tightly wound wire should be at the bottom, and that you want that pigtail on the screw side, and that you screw that tight and get a really nice tight grip on that. And so, sorry, I'm very shaky here all of a sudden. But that's what you want when you're putting these together. Wire at the bottom, pigtail at the top, tightly wound on there. All right, I have replaced all the connectors. I have installed them the way they told me to. And over here, these are so this is a new replacement wire, and so is this one, but these others were the originals. But they were kind of loose, and I wanted new connectors on them anyway. So, and there was plenty of extra wire, and so I clipped them down, tightened them up, and put them on. So those have nice, clean, quote unquote fresh, even though it's the older wire, it's got a fresh connection there as well. So now I am running it, and I looked inside already, and all 8 of the quartz tubes, the elements inside, are glowing, so that's a good sign. And I'm going to leave the cover off and then come check it later when it's at full temp, just to kind of see what's happening. I'm imagining nothing, but I'll check it all out when it's up to full temp. To this kiln firing, I'm running up to 1425. All right, I'm not fully at top temperature yet, but I'm over 1200 degrees and everything looks good. You see where in the past, these are old scars from some issues with the kiln, but everything is running quite well. Looks real good. I don't even really know what I'm looking for other than I'm just looking for, like, nothing appears to be melting, nothing's like, you know, bright white, super hot. So I think I'm good to go and to put all these, or to put the covers back on. So I hope you learned something. I hope this was a little helpful. Not every kiln is made the same. This is my Gen-Ken Profusion 26, which I absolutely love. Gen-Ken. And so if you happen to have one and need to do a repair, this is an example of what that can look like. And I ordered new relays, and so I've got those on hand in case my relays go out again. So I'm good to go. Again, hope this video was helpful. Catch y'all later.